Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Kala Chanji Radha Kala Chanji Radhe Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur.
Quick announcement, there will be Harinam tonight at 7 p.m. across from Trader Joe's, so it's a wonderful opportunity to glorify His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur by going out with a diverse group of devotees and chanting the holy names in the public. So he would be really pleased by that, so please join us. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, good morning devotees. My name is Manjari Gopika Devi Dasi, and today we will be hearing from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 22, verses 1 through 8, and we'll focus on verse 2. Before we begin, I ask for your blessings that I may speak something pleasing to my spiritual master, to Srila Prabhupada, and to all the devotees. Let us begin by chanting together the invocation prayers. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim sarvasvatim vyasyam tato jayamudirayet nastra prayesha badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gora Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're beginning a new chapter, chapter 22, which is entitled Bali Maharaj Surrenders His Life. And I thought I'd give a quick recap of chapter 21. So previously, just a few verses ago, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared as Vamana Dev, a beautiful dwarf Brahmin boy, at the sacrifice of Bali Maharaj. And when Vamana Dev was asked what he desired, he requested only 3 steps of land. And Bali Maharaj agreed, despite warnings from his guru, Shukracharya, who understood this was actually Vishnu himself. But so Vamana Dev then expanded into a gigantic universal form. With his first step, he covered the entire lower and middle planetary systems. And within his second step, he covered the heavenly planets and everything above. So there's no space left for this third step. Bali Maharaj was then arrested and bound with the ropes of Varuna. He's dishonored before his entire assembly. Outwardly, he appears ruined, but inwardly, his devotion is shining. And he did not regret his promise. He accepted the Lord's will. So that leads us to chapter 22. So if we could read the translations of 1 through 8, and then we'll come back to verse 2.
Shukadeva Goswami said, O king, although the Supreme Personality of Godhead was superficially seen to have acted mischievously towards Bali Maharaj was fixed in his determination. Considering himself not to have fulfilled his purpose, he spoke as follows.
Bali Maharaj said, O best personality of Godhead, most worshipable for all the demigods, if you think that my promise has become false, I shall certainly rectify matters to make it truthful. I cannot allow my promise to be false. Please, therefore, place your third lotus footstep upon my head.
Text 3. I do not fear being deprived of all my possession, living in hellish life, being arrested for cruelty by the ropes of Varuna, or being punished by you as much as I fear defamation.
Although a father, mother, brother, or friend may sometimes punish one as a well-wisher, they never punish their subordinate like this. But because you are the most worshipable Lord, I regard the punishment you have given me as most exalted.
Since your lordship is indirectly the greatest well-wisher of us demons, you act for our best welfare by possessing as if our enemy, because demons like us always aspire for a possession of false prestige by chastising us. You give us the eyes by which to see the right path.
Many demons who were continuously inimical towards you finally achieved the perfection of great mystic yogis. Your lordship can perform the work to serve many purposes, and consequently, although you have punished me in many ways, I do not feel ashamed of having been arrested by the ropes of Varuna, nor do I feel aggrieved.
My grandfather Prahlad Maharaj is famous, being recognized by all your devotees. Although harassed in many ways by his father Hiranyakashipu, he still remained faithful, taking shelter at your lotus feet.
Thank you. We'll return now to our focus verse, text 2. Shri Balir Uvacha Yadut Mashloka Bhavanma Maritam Vacho Valakim Suravarya Manyate Karo Miritam Tanabhavet Pralambanam Padam Tritiyam Kuru Shirshni Menijam. Please chant. Shri Balir Uvacha Yutma Shloka Bhavanma Miritam Vacho Vyalikam Suravarya Manyate Karo Miritam Tanabhavet Pralambanam Padam Trityam Kam Guru Shishni Menijam Shri Balir Uvacha Yajut Mashloka Bhavan Mameritam Vacho Vyalikam Suravarya Manyate Karo Miritam Tanabhavet Pralambanam Padam Tritiyam Kuru Shishni Menijam. Thank you. Let's move on to synonyms. We can do them together since we have the board there. Shri Bali Uvacha. Bali Maharaj said, Yadi, if, Uttama Shloka, O Supreme Lord, Bhavan, your good self, Mama, my, Iritam, promised, Vacha, words, Vyalikam, false, Suravarya, O greatest of all suras, demigods. Manyate, you think so. Karomi, I shall make it. Ritam, truth. Tat, that, promise. Na, not. Bhavet, will become. Pralambanam, cheating. Padam, step. Tritiyam, the third. Kuru, just do it. Shirshni, on the head. Me, my. Nijam, your lotus feet. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Bali Maharaj said, O best personality of Godhead, most worshipable for all the demigods, if you think that my promise has become false, I shall certainly rectify matters to make it truthful. I cannot allow my promise to be false. Please, therefore, place your third lotus footstep on my head. Purport. Bali Maharaj could understand the pretense of Lord Vamanadeva, who had taken the side of the demigods and come before him as a beggar. Although the Lord's purpose was to cheat him, Bali Maharaj took pleasure in understanding how the Lord will cheat his devotee to glorify the devotee's position. It is said that God is good, and this is a fact. Whether he cheats or rewards, he is always good. Bali Maharaj therefore addressed him as Uttama Shloka. Your lordship, he said, you are always praised with the best of selected verses. On behalf of the demigods, you disguised yourself to cheat me, saying that you wanted only 3 paces of land, but later you expanded your body to such an extent that with 2 footsteps you covered the entire universe. Because you were working on behalf of your devotees, you do not regard this as cheating. Never mind, I cannot be considered a devotee. Nonetheless, because although you are the husband of the goddess of fortune, you have come to me to beg. I must satisfy you to the best of my ability. So please do not think that I wanted to cheat you. I must fulfill my promise. I still have my body. When I place my body for your satisfaction, please put your third step on my head. Since the Lord had covered the entire universe with 2 steps, one might ask how Bali Maharaj's head could be sufficient for his third step. Bali Maharaj, however, thought that the possessor of wealth must be greater than the possession. Therefore, although the Lord had taken all his possessions, the head of Bali Maharaj, the possessor, would provide adequate place for the Lord's third step. This is such a celebrated pastime. In Bhagavad Gita 10.36, Krishna declares that he is the master of all cheaters. And in that purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that no one can surpass Krishna in his capacity to deceive, should he choose to do so. And that really prepares us for this story of Bali Maharaj. As we discussed, Vamanadeva appeared as a simple dwarf Brahmin. He asked Bali Maharaj, who's king of the universe, for just 3 steps of land. Yet with just 2 steps, he covered the entire universe. Krishna cheated. But in that divine deception, he was arranging Bali's eternal glory. This aspect of Krishna's personality, his pastimes, is not overlooked in the scriptures. In the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 47, verse 17, Uddhava returns to Vrindavan to give a message to the gopis, and they are in this intense mood of separation. And Srimati Radharani herself recalls this pastime while speaking to a honeybee. She's in Mahabhav, she mistakes the honeybee for Krishna, and she says these things. And the verse is, she says, like a hunter, he cruelly shot the king of the monkeys with arrows. She's referring to a pastime with Vali. And then she says, because he was conquered by a woman, he disfigured another woman who came to him with lusty desires. She's talking about Lord Ram, Sita, and Suparnika. And then she says, and even after consuming the gifts of Bali Maharaj, he bound him up with ropes as if he were a crow. So let us give up all friendship with this dark-complexioned boy, even if we can't give up talking about him. Radharani is saying, we understand, Krishna, that you are a great cheater. Whoever comes to give their lives to you, you cheat them. And from a material point of view, this sounds like criticism, but please, this statement is not criticism. It's not ordinary in any respect. Srimati Radharani is speaking in Mahabhav, ecstatic spiritual love. Because His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj explains, to be cheated by Krishna is the eternal hankering of every soul. because Krishna's so-called cheating is actually the highest principle of spiritual morality. Lord Chaitanya prayed in that mood. In the verse from the Shikshastakam, he says, Alisha va pararatam panashtu mam, adarshanan mama hatam korotu va, yata tata va vidhadatu lampato, mat prana natas tu sa eva napara. My Lord, you may deal with me any way you like. If you like, you can embrace me, or you can trample on me, or you can make me brokenhearted by not being present before me. I am your servant. I am yours. You can do anything you want with me. And this is total surrender. Of course, on our level of consciousness, we can only appreciate from a respectful distance what a drop of the infinite ocean of loving sentiments expressed by Srimati Radharani. But we can see she's teaching us to let Krishna act as he wills, to never forget him, to never stop glorifying him, and to never cease serving him, no matter what condition he places us in. Although she chastises him with these intense words, she's actually glorifying Krishna in that verse. She is saying, Krishna, throughout history, you have performed the most wonderful acts of intervening in people's lives to give them pure devotional service. And we see that in this pastime with Bali Maharaj. That's what he's doing. So what does this mean for us? His Holiness Ranarath Swami said that in our lives, too, it may sometimes appear that Krishna has cheated us. But in truth, in this so-called cheating, he's actually taking away the very things that keep us bound in suffering. When he robs us, what is he robbing us of? He's robbing us of illusion. He's stealing away our false hopes, attachments that are holding us back, so that eventually our hearts may rest only at his lotus feet. This was the gift that he gave Bali Maharaj. Because externally in this pastime, you can see it looks like humiliation. The king of the universe has been outsmarted in public. He's now bound up in ropes, shamed before an assembly of his peers. That looks like humiliation. But inwardly, it was his highest honor. Because in surrendering everything, in taking away everything, Bali Maharaj was crowned as one of the Mahajans, a guide for all future devotees. That would not have happened if he had stayed king of the universe the way that he was. Does anyone know what the name Hari means? Yes. To take away, to cheat, to steal. And that's one of Krishna's names, Lord Hari. But what does he take away? He's taking away our real suffering, our bondage to birth and death. He steals the unwanted desires that are chaining us to illusion, that are keeping us separate from him lifetime after lifetime. He really steals away the obstacles that are keeping us from his lotus feet. Outwardly, it may appear as a loss, but inwardly it is a gain, because he alone is expert in purifying the hearts of his devotees. And our acharyas explain that we should know that whatever Krishna does is perfect. His Holiness Ranarath Maharaj was saying how he spent time, I don't know how long ago, with a very famous yogi. He didn't say the name, but he said he was a very famous yogi, and they had some mutual acquaintances that were devotees, and they were discussing these crises that were happening in these devotees' lives. And the yogi said, of course, because you have chosen to worship Krishna, these things are bound to happen. Krishna is the Purna avatar. He is complete. Just see what he did with the Pandavas, with Prahlad. He loves to place his devotees in such predicaments that they can turn to no one but him. And even Yudhishthira Maharaj asked Krishna, why did you send us to the forest, banishing us from our kingdom? We are your devotees. You could have given us everything, but instead you took it all away. And Krishna famously replies in the 10th canto, that verse, Yasyaham anugrahanami. When I especially favor someone, I gradually take away all he possesses until he has no shelter but me. Of course, Krishna doesn't just take, does he? He also gives. He may shower abundance, as he did, we could see with Srila Prabhupada. There were some things he took away, but he also gave. He also gave him 108 temples and thousands of disciples all over the world who were ready to help him spread this mission of Lord Chaitanya. But whether Krishna gives or takes, it is always perfectly arranged for the devotee's progress. But still, we can have the question, okay, but then how do we understand suffering? And how do we follow Krishna's plan when it feels painful? Bhishmadev says in the first canto in chapter 9, verse 16, truly no one can know the plan of the Lord. Even though great philosophers inquire exhaustively, they are bewildered. In the moment of suffering, we often cannot see his plan at all. Only later do we recognize his hand, shaping events for our ultimate good. And Bhishmadev continues in the subsequent verse, verse 17, O best among the descendants of Bharat, I maintain that all this is within the plan of the Lord. Accepting the inconceivable plan of the Lord, you must follow it. And how do we accept reversals? Well, first of all, how do we define suffering? I think it can be very simply defined as suffering means not getting what we want or getting what we don't want. And we all suffer. But for the devotee, suffering should have a different meaning. His Grace Rajbihari Prabhu explains that according to the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 3 types of people who suffer. Materialists, who suffer due to time, karma, and the modes of material nature. Pure devotees, who appear to suffer because Krishna personally arranges reversals and situations for them so that through them he can teach the world. And 3, sincere practitioners like us face difficulties because Krishna is actually training us to go back to the spiritual world. He's purifying us. But why do surrendered devotees still go through difficulties? One could ask that question very reasonably, and we have that famous verse from Bhagavad Gita 1866, where Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityajya mammekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha yashyami ma suchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. I've been listening to a series of lectures by His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj on the nectar of devotion. And he explains in particular this point very well. Why this promise of Krishna still comes with something that may look like sinful reactions. He says, I'll deliver you from all sinful reactions, but yet we see devotees who have surrendered and they're still suffering. So how do we reconcile that? And he says that once a devotee surrenders, Krishna frees him from all sinful reactions. Difficulties that arise for a devotee are not punishment for past karma. Instead, subtle traces of material desire may remain. Out of mercy, the Lord arranges situations that resemble karmic reactions so that the devotee will let go of those last attachments. And a devotee will think, I want eternal service in Krishna's kingdom. But I know that unless I'm purified, I can't go there. Just like you cannot enter fire unless you become fire. One also cannot enter the abode of the supreme pure unless they are pure. So therefore, when a devotee suffers some reversal, they see it not as a punishment, but as Krishna's mercy. I'm sure you've all heard that. No, this is Krishna's mercy. This is Krishna's mercy. Krishna himself is personally purifying that person, making them fit for eternal service. Srila Prabhupada gave an example. He said, if an orphan is out and about creating mischief, the police may round him up and slap him. That is impersonal punishment. But if a prince misbehaves, the king may slap him himself. Outwardly, both slaps look the same, but one is the cold law of justice, and the other is the warm hand of a father who cares about his son, who sees his son's bright future, and he's correcting him. In that same way, Maharaj explained, karmis are punished by material nature, but devotees are corrected personally by Krishna. Outwardly, the suffering may look similar, but inwardly, the agency and the purpose are completely different. Interestingly, our scriptures describe that there are 3 types of karma. There's sanchit karma, the stockpile of reactions from countless lifetimes, prarabdha karma, the portion that's already manifested in this body, and kriyamana karma, the new reactions created by our actions now. When one takes to bhakti, sanchit and kriyamana karmas are destroyed. Prarabdha remains until the body ends, but here is the higher vision. For the devotee, those so-called prarabdha reactions are no longer the blind workings of material nature. Krishna personally takes charge of them and transforms them into his own arrangements for purification. So, when things get tough, the devotee thinks this is Krishna's kindness, this is Krishna's mercy. He's not punishing me. He's helping me. I may not understand how or why, but I know that he's doing this for my good. Because sometimes Krishna will corner us until we finally drop everything else, right? And say, okay, I get it. Did you ever do wrestling when you were kids? I didn't, but like my brothers would, right? And one of the ways, how do you know the match is over? What are you supposed to say? This is olden times thing. They would say, mercy, mercy, mercy. Okay, I give, mercy, mercy. So it's like that sometimes. Krishna will corner us until we say, okay, I get it. I'm yours. There's no other way out of this. I surrender. Whatever you do, I know is the best and you're in control. That is why suffering comes. It's to bring us to exclusive dependence. And when it does, His Grace Rajri Hari Prabhu says, we can remember these 3 principles. 1, Krishna is training us to return to the spiritual world. 2, in the material world, no one can avoid suffering no matter who you are. And 3, Krishna is teaching us tolerance. Still, sometimes it is natural to wonder, is this really Krishna's mercy? So I always come back to this passage from the Harmonist, which was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's newspaper or magazine. I think it was newspaper. Anyway, he was asked this question. Is everything the Supreme Lord does beneficial for us? This was his reply that he printed. Definitely. Everything that the most benevolent Supreme Lord does is solely an expression of his mercy. He is all auspicious, so there is no scope for inauspiciousness in the arrangements he makes. Whatever he does, and whenever he does it, it is solely for the absolute good. All those conditioned souls who consider that apparent impediments to their happiness are harmful or the cruelty of the Supreme Lord see only the first move in the chess game. They are unable to foresee what lies beyond the 4th or the 5th move. He continues, the mercy bestowed by Lord Chaitanya or his devotees is a mandodaya. There is no trace of anything that could be called harmful or lowly in their compassion. When bitter medicine is given to a patient, he calls the doctor a merciless, cruel person. But when he is relieved of the disease, he realizes how compassionate the doctor was to give him the bitter medicine. And so we can turn to our own lives. Think of a time that something you desired slipped away. A relationship, a job, a possession, a property, an opportunity, and at the time it stung. But later, could you see Krishna's hand? Could you see how his plan was greater than your own? That you're actually glad things didn't work out the way you thought you wanted? This is the heart of Bali Maharaj's mood. outwardly cheated, outwardly punished, outwardly humiliated, yet inwardly he saw mercy. And so he bows his head at the Lord's lotus feet. My Lord, take your third step here. That is what I have prepared. Thank you. I'd love to hear your thoughts, questions, comments, reflections. Also, as we can see, today is the appearance day of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. We've been speaking about cheating. I feel like you all have been cheated. I think I was accidentally put on the schedule for today, where they realized it was his divine appearance day. I will say that I took my first pilgrimage to Mayapur in June, and one of the most exciting parts of that trip for me was visiting Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's home, where we got to see where he raised his 10 children. We got to see his bedroom, and also the right next door was the bedroom of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his bookshelves, his books. We visited his samadhi, so indebted to him. We also visited his bhajan kutir. It was so powerful to be there. The way he lived was very, very simple, but very, very elevated. You could sense how he was truly, truly utilizing every minute of his life to serve Lord Chaitanya. So also, if anybody wants to share pastimes of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that would be wonderful.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the wonderful class. I was wondering, sometimes I'm not sure whether if I'm like facing some adversity or facing some difficulty, whether to, I know sometimes definitely I'm causing, my own problems, and, it's my previous lives, and we hear Lord Brahma says that from our previous sinful activities, we're getting a token of that. Yet also at the same time, there's this idea that, Krishna's arranging everything, and so I'm kind of wondering how to, what's like my barometer to tell when like, this thing happened purely because I messed up, and I did this sinful activity, or okay, maybe Krishna wanted it to be this way, or something like that.
Well, I think you're a very reflective person, Dristadjuna Prabhu. I'm sure Paramatma will speak to you. But we are flawed beings. We know that. We learn that in, Sri Upanishad, the defects of conditioned souls. So we will make mistakes. And as you know, there's that analogy that is often shared in our movement. People will say, okay, if everything is predestined, if everything is pre-designed, then what's the point of even doing anything, right? If the outcome is already guaranteed, everything is predestined, why should I do anything? And one of the famous analogies that the Maharajas in our movement share is, it's like getting on an airplane. You can choose the ticket that you buy, right? So once you get on that plane, we know where the plane is headed, but you can choose what you do on that plane, right? You could order a lot of alcohol and get really rowdy and be arrested before the plane even lands, right? Or you could use that time to meditate, to read, to pray, to, talk to people around you. So we do have some free will, and based on our actions, we may suffer the reactions, so that we can learn from them. Gokulananda Prabhu, do you want to say anything about that? Okay, or anybody else?
Thank you for the wonderful class and for the wonderful answer. Just to add to what you said, it is said that there are major things which are coming from our past life, past karma. Like the body itself is a product of our previous karma. That's called prarabdha. You cannot change. And as you gave the analogy, right? So once you have bought a ticket, then destination, that particular destination is fixed, but then you have a choice. So there is an element of free will. So number of breaths that one will be breathing in one's life is fixed, but then how many number of yawns one will be giving in that life, that is not fixed. So it's all, that's why Krishna says in one line, Gahana Karmano Gati, the intricacies of action is very difficult to understand. So since today is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's very auspicious appearance day?
Yes.
Appearance day. I would like to express my gratitude at his lotus feet for two things. I was thinking, because of him, since he's the revealer of the Dham, right, he fulfilled the prophecy of Lord Nityananda, who had predicted that once the glories of Lord Chaitanya's birthplace will be revealed, and he was the via media, he was an instrument. So he had a dream where the golden personality appeared in his dream and pointed out to the exact spot where Lord Chaitanya had taken birth, where he had appeared. So that was first aspect. And of course it was corroborated, and it was, Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj was taken there, although he was probably was 120 years old or something. He had to be literally carried over in a basket. He didn't have even the strength to lift his eyelid. And when he was taken at that spot, he just jumped like few feet up in the sky. So that was first aspect of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He revealed the Dham. And number two, I was thinking about the visionary aspect. He envisioned, he predicted the Adbhut Mandir, or there will be a wonderful temple coming up from where the holy name will be spread all throughout the world. And he said, can you imagine, he said, people from all different countries, nations will come together and chant and dance at this place, at that particular temple. And it was a far out thing during that particular era. Even today, for that matter, many people in India itself don't know, they are not aware of this place. What to speak of at that particular time, thinking how people from different countries can come together, and it's happening today. So I would like to express my gratitude at his lotus feet for giving this wonderful moment.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Manjari, Gopika. Thank you
Krishna.
for a wonderful class. I wanted to mention how in these verses, as you were reading through them, what really stuck with me was that, most of the times we're told that if something good happens, it's, Krishna's mercy. If something bad happens, it is our fault. And so when things don't go wrong and we're struggling with, okay, this is our fault, but Krishna, So I really appreciate how here Bali Maharaj mentioned that. He felt that and he mentioned that, and then he said, but so here in text 4 he was saying, although a father, mother, brother, friend may sometimes punish one as a well-wisher, they never punish their subordinates like this. So he's calling out how intense this is feeling for him. But then he's saying, but because you have given me, but I regard the punishment you have given me as the most exalted. So even in the next verse, he's like, you act for our best welfare by opposing as if our enemy. So so what I'm appreciating is that in these verses, he is calling out how it feels to him. So instead of saying, okay, you're really hurt, I am feeling by this, this is feeling, very intense, but I know that this is for my benefit. So that is what I was really appreciating when we are hurting, how to call out to Krishna and say, it is hurting, but I know it's for my good. So I really appreciated that aspect. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for bringing that to our attention. I also really appreciated those verses, and the purports of those verses are very nice. They're quite short, but in text 4, the verse where Bali Maharaj says, although a father, mother, brother, or friend may sometimes punish one as a well-wisher, they never punish a subordinate like this. So wow, this punishment you're giving me is so exalted. In that verse, purport, Prabhupada quotes the famous Tatenu kampam susamikshmano bunjana evadmakritam vipakam. One who seeks your compassion and thus tolerates all kinds of adverse conditions due to the karma of his past deeds, who engages in your devotional service with his mind, words, and body, and who always offers obeisances to you, is certainly a bona fide candidate for liberation. And then Prabhupada says, a devotee knows that so-called punishment by the Supreme Personality of Godhead is only his favor to correct the devotee and bring him to the right path. And then he says, so a punishment by the Lord, it can't even be compared to the greatest achievement or award being given by a mother or father. And that actually kind of makes me think of how we're trained with the spiritual master, that when the spiritual master corrects you, it's much more powerful and much higher mercy, right, than when the spiritual master praises you. It's coming. I'm not qualified enough, I think, to get corrected. You have to be very strong. My husband has some great stories. But yeah, it's the same relationship with Krishna himself, right? We know when the spiritual master corrects us, it's for our higher good. It's the same with Krishna when we're suffering. So thank you. Anyone else? Mishra Bhagavan Prabhu.
In 1896, Bhaktivinoda Thakur started book distribution in the West with English books called The Life and Precepts of Lord Chaitanya. And that arrived in Canada, and the devotees found this book some years later with a poem by Prabhupada in it. So is that just an amazing coincidence, or is that part of some big plan for Krishna?
Which part are you asking as a coincidence?
That he sent, that he started book distribution in the West the year that Prabhupada was born.
Oh. I feel like this is a rhetorical question. In language arts, we learn that a rhetorical question is one where when a question is asked, the answer is actually within the question. And you don't need to give an answer. But speaking of book distribution, when we were in Mayapur, we were walking, we had gone, I don't know if it was after the Ganges boat tour, or we were coming back from Kula Dweep, but we were walking outside, we were walking towards one of the gates into the ISKCON campus, and there was Mishra Bhagavan Prabhu. It was so humid, the sun was beating down, and Mishra Bhagavan Prabhu was there. He didn't even have a hat, and he was distributing books. He was speaking to a Bengali lady, a young Bengali woman. I think she might have even had a child with her. And I was like, I actually had been wondering, I haven't seen Mishra Bhagavan Prabhu in so long in Dallas. And then there he was. So we were coming back from the Ganges. And I was like, it's Mishra Bhagavan Prabhu. And we said Hare Krishna, and he said Hare Krishna, but he was all business. He was really, and the books were in Bengali, and he was just, it was really incredible to see your enthusiasm is 24 hours a day, rain, shine, humidity, mosquitoes. Thank you so much for your dedication to spreading this movement. I hope he's not mad at me for glorifying him. Anyone else? All right then. Thank you so much for tolerating me. Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki.